hei mauri ora. Ko huruiki te maunga, ko punuruku te awa, ko mātātua te waka. Ko ngāti wai te iwi, ko morore kai kaupeka piripi te tupuna, ko mōkau te marae, ko Amelia Butler ahau. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. My mountain is Huruiki. My river is Punuruku. My ancestral canoe is the Mātātua. My tribe is Ngāti Wai. My marae, or gathering place, is Mōkau in Whangaruru, a small rural community in the far north of Aotearoa, New Zealand. My great-grandfather is Morore Kaikaupeka Piripi, and he was the paramount chief of our tribe, Ngāti Wai. I am Amelia Butler, therefore greetings, greetings, greetings to you all. Kia ora, my name is Amelia, and I am a Māori cultural practitioner here on Turtle Island. What you just heard me share was my Pepeha. Pepeha is how we introduce ourselves in Te Ao Māori, Māori culture. It acknowledges our whakapapa, our genealogy to the taiao, to the natural world, and to our tupuna, our ancestors. Pepeha and whakapapa form the basis of how we as Māori see the world and our place within it. As a cultural practitioner, my work focuses on sharing Te Ao Māori, the Māori language, kapa haka, our traditional Māori performing arts, and Te Ao Māori, Māori culture, through my organisation, Learn Māori Abroad. In our classes, learners get the opportunity to create their own pepeha, and today, I would like to invite you to create a shortened version of your pepeha so you can experience what it would be like to connect with the world from a Te Ao Māori perspective. To create your pepeha today, I'm going to ask you 3 questions. My first question is, ko wai tō maunga? Who is your mountain? Now, this could be a mountain where your ancestors come from, or a mountain where you live. It could be the mountain where you grew up, or the mountain you go hiking up. Which mountain would that be for you? Now, I would like to add that for those of you who live in a place where there are no mountains, I invite you to think about another landmark, such as a desert, a prairie, a canyon, a forest, a hill, or a natural area where you live that is significant to you. My second question is, ko wai tō awa? Who is your river? Now, this doesn't necessarily have to be a river. It could be a lake, a waterfall, a stream, the ocean or the sea, any body of water. It could be the body of water that your ancestors were connected to, or the body of water where you live. It could be the beach where you go to swim, or the stream where you grew up. Which body of water would that be for you? My third question is, ko wai tō wahi hui? Who is your gathering place? For us as Māori, our gathering place is our marae, our traditional Māori meeting complex, which we have whakapapa or genealogical connections to. But for us here today, we are going to think about a gathering place, a wahi hui. This could be the community group you are a part of, or maybe it's the church you go to. It could be your grandmother's place where you and your family go every Sunday for a meal. Or maybe it's your dance studio where you and your dance group rehearses. Where do you go to gather with others? All right, now that you've answered these 3 questions, we are just going to add one more thing on at the end to complete your pepeha, and that is your name. In the Western world, people are viewed as paramount. So when we introduce ourselves, we usually say our name first. But in Te Ao Māori, we say our name last. This is because the focus is not on us as individuals, but on us as a collective. Pepeha is generally shared in generational order. So because mountains and rivers were here long before people walked this earth, we share our mountains and rivers first. Once we share our mountain and the body of water, we share our ancestral canoe. As Māori, our waka arrived to Aotearoa shores from other areas of the Pacific. Once we share our waka, our ancestral canoe, we share our iwi, our tribes. Each iwi arrived to Aotearoa, and we each built marae as a central gathering place for the tribe. So once iwi and marae are shared, we share the names of our ancestors, and then we share our name. And there you have it. You now have a completed version of your own pepeha. Now, you would have noticed that when I asked you these 3 questions, I started with ko wai, which translates as who, as opposed to what. So instead of saying, what is your mountain? I said, who is your mountain? Who is your river? Who is your gathering place? This reflects the relationship that we as Māori have with these elements, in that we don't view them as a what or a thing, but we view them as a who, in the same way we would view a person. For us, there is no difference in asking, ko wai tō maunga, who is your mountain? And ko wai tō mama, who is your mother? Aside from the words maunga for mountain and mama for mother, these 2 questions are identical. This is because our language reflects our worldview, in that we relate to mountains and rivers just like we would people. For us as Māori, our mountains, rivers, and marae are our ancestors. We personify our maunga and tell stories about them to explain why they are where they are. We share tales about our awa and how they were formed. We relate to the wharenui, our traditional Māori meeting house on a marae, as an ancestral house. And when we enter the wharenui, we are entering a body of an ancestor. For us, the natural world is made up of many atua or deities, like Tangaroa, the god of the sea, and Hene Moana Nui, the goddess of the sea. Our whakapapa, our genealogy, connects us to all of our atua, taking us back, right back to the beginnings of the universe, to our primeval atua, Rangi Nui, Sky Father, and Papa Tuanuku, Earth Mother. And so begins the world we live in today, with Rangi Nui above and Papa Tuanuku below. It is from their union that all things, including us, came into being. From creating our own pepeha, we really get to experience a Te Ao Māori worldview. We also get to engage with a viewpoint that is distinct from the Western cultural paradigm we currently live in. Through engaging with an Indigenous culture, we experience a shift in thinking that moves us away from a Western cultural perspective and towards an Indigenous cultural perspective. It is this shift in thinking that I believe has the power to change the world. What shift in thinking did you experience today when you created your pepeha? How does that feel? Perhaps your view that people and nature are separate moved towards the idea that people and nature are one and the same. Or maybe through engaging with Pepeha, you started to see mountains and rivers as much more than just things, but as beings that we can relate to, just as we would a person. Maybe the idea that humans have control over nature, maybe that shifted for you towards the notion that humans, we are intrinsically connected to nature and have a relationship with her. And for those of you who already think this way, maybe you went a step further and started to think about how nature might view you. Whatever the shift or shifts in thinking that you experienced today were, I invite you to imagine what kind of impact a shift in thinking like this could have on the world. Things start to get very clear when we look at the current state of the world today and consider the many ways this kind of shift could impact our future. From global warming, climate change, and water pollution, to air pollution, deforestation, endangered wildlife, and more, Papatuanuku desperately needs our help. Shifting our thinking towards an Indigenous worldview has the power to create massive change, not only for our Earth Mother, but for many of the global issues we are currently facing. So then, what's the next step? Well, I had initially thought about inviting you to engage with Indigenous culture by learning an Indigenous language, finding out who the Indigenous people are where you live, attending a local Indigenous event, reading books by Indigenous authors, and learning about the history of Indigenous peoples. And don't get me wrong, those are all really important things to do. But instead of doing all that, I'd like to invite you into something different. And that is to go outside and be with Papatuanuku. Sit with your mountain. Immerse yourself in your body of water. And laugh with your loved ones at your gathering place. Because in a culture that's already heavily focused on doing, being is a radical act. When we shift our focus from doing to being and move our thinking from a Western cultural context to an Indigenous cultural context, we can change the world. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Kia rite! Kia rite! Kia mo! Hei! Ringa pakia! Wai takaia! Kamate, kamate, kaora, kaora, kamate, kamate, kaora, kaora. Tēnei te tangata, huru nāna i tiki mai whakawhiti tērā. Upane, kaupane, upane, kaupane, whiti tērā. Hei! Thank you.